back in 2016 when GMBN started, it was kind of the early days for YouTube where the audience was finding these niche channels like mountain biking. But there was another channel just like us that was growing at a similar rate, and that was Seth's Bike Hacks. Fast forward to 2023 and Seth's Bike Hacks no longer exists, but it's Berm Peak and Berm Peak Express. But today I'm gonna hang out with Seth, the guy behind that, meet him and go for a ride with him. We are Cola, Bentonville, where we're here early, first thing in the morning, to meet Seth Alvo, because he's got a busy schedule. We want to go ride with him and find out a bit more about the man.
He's a little bit late though.
He is late, he's lost his car keys. First thing I've learned is he misplaces things. How you doing?
Morning, Neil.
Yeah. Morning.
You guys are two of the few people that know how tiring this is. So what I love about Bentonville is I couldn't find the car keys, and maybe I could have pulled up all the couch cushions and stuff in there somewhere. I'll just pedal there.
Yeah.
And it's completely possible, and I don't know, what am I, 5 minutes late?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, so.
Exactly. We drove because we were lazy.
Yeah, well, I would have driven if I could find the keys.
Lap it out. Right, for people that maybe live under a rock, tell us your name, age, and where you're from.
My name is Seth, I'm 37, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I run a YouTube channel called Berm Peak.
What about people that, well, maybe don't know anything about you? What's your favourite band and what's your favourite movie?
Ooh. My favorite movie might be Team America: World Police.
Okay.
And yeah, you know what? I think I like Stevie Wonder the best.
And when did you start riding a bike?
I started riding a bike at 3 years old, like right at 3. Rode BMX growing up, and then took up mountain biking a little later on, like a lot of people do, and been doing it ever since.
And how would you describe your riding style?
Well, it's definitely influenced from BMX. I oftentimes don't wear gloves. People give me a hard time about that. Probably reluctantly wear a helmet, but I do wear my pads and helmet. Old habits die hard, and I like to look for things that you're not supposed to ride and ride that.
But now we're moving on to Seths, which is one of my favourite trails here. Some really nice jumps at the top. So you started YouTube in 2015, which is kind of early days for YouTube when things, just before they kind of went crazy. But how did you make that move? What made you decide to do it?
Like a lot of people, it wasn't just an instant decision. I just started posting things to YouTube and putting it out there. And the people who were watching the videos actually educated me on it. They said, oh, wow, this is great. When are you going to post next? I'm like, I didn't really give that any thought. They say, hey, I just subscribed to you. And I'm like, wait, you actually log into YouTube? This was back in 2015. There was no such thing as a YouTuber. That name had to be invented. It wasn't very common for people to make money on YouTube. So people were still confused about it. Like, oh, you can make money at that? Like you do that for a living? Well, what is your real job? You know, you get asked that back in those days.
And now, I guess it's, you know, people know about it, but I guess your bread and butter, what you're doing is you're, you know, producing content, which I guess, you know, I've seen the behind the scenes stuff, how it works, but really you're a content creator, a filmmaker. Did you just learn as you went along, or did you kind of do any, proper studying, or did you have any previous experience?
I had a background in photography, but not in videography. I had edited videos. I had shot videos on my dad's camcorder when I was a kid, and I actually had the camcorder hooked up to a VCR and like playing it, rewinding, stitching it together the old-fashioned way. And then when I was in high school, he got an iMac, and you could plug through FireWire, one of those Sony camcorders in there, and I played around with iMovie, and that was my only editing experience. And so I know what I want it to look like, and I could just mess with it until it looked the way I wanted. And now the only difference is I'm way faster at it.
And now, the beauty of YouTube is that anyone can do this, and there's lots and lots of YouTubers. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out and they decide this is what they want to do?
Don't underestimate how much work it is. Like, I don't want to discourage anyone, but a lot of people, I've seen people quit their jobs and say, I'm going to do YouTube, and they're still hanging out on the weekend, and they're still stopping work at 5. And I know that we talk about work-life balance and don't glorify, overworking, but yeah, you kind of have to if you're going to start a YouTube channel. How is that? You think I should try that? I always hesitate to recommend it because I've seen people who really think that all you have to do is ride off of it.
Yeah.
But you do have to keep your weight. Like, they've never done a small drop.
Yeah.
But
you don't know until here, like, well, you might change your mind and do something different. Like,
try and
too far. Yeah.
But it's actually built really well. Like, if you've done small drops successfully, you could do this. You go someplace like Bentonville or Whistler where everything's built amazingly, and then you go somewhere else with a drop that's not built so well, and it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, the landing was behind me. Now it's flat.
Why do you think your channel is so popular?
I'm unassuming. I don't look like an athlete. I'm very short. I got gray hairs popping out. I still have the remnants of a New York accent. And people can relate to that. If this guy can do it, I can do it. If this guy can have all these bikes and build stuff and work on stuff and travel all these places, then I definitely can, And so I think that I think it's easier for people to put themselves in my shoes than a real superhero athlete.
Are you living the dream?
I'm sure it looks like I am. I would say I live a very charmed life, but it's very much like everyone else's. I wake up, my wife's still asleep, I cook breakfast for the toddler, I go to work, and I work until it's done, and then I come home and, have trouble going to sleep and wake up groggy the next day and pound coffee, and that's what everybody does, and it feels the same.
So, Seth's Bike Hacks is no longer. Changed the name to Berm Peak and Express. Why was that?
I still wonder whether that was the right decision, but it was getting confusing. I did videos about bike hacks, and people are always like, when are you going to do the next hacks video? When are you going to do the next hacks video? And I'm like, there's only so many ways you can hide zip ties inside your handlebars. I've done like hundreds of them so far. I got to do content about other things, and all the while, I'm selling Berm Peak shirts and Berm Peak merch and doing all this work on Berm Peak. And then it's called Seth's Bike Hacks. And I thought it was confusing. I think it wouldn't have really mattered if I would have left it the same, but I thought it would streamline things. And it kind of has, but people still know me as Seth's Bike Hacks. My handle on Instagram is still Seth's Bike Hacks. It's just a little tidbit of information that the fans that have been watching for a long time know.
This is one thing I really want to know the answer to. What do you say if people come up to you in the street, or you meet someone new, they don't know you, if they ask you what you do for a living, what do you say?
Now I say I'm a content creator. I think that's, when you talk to a brand, influencer, that's not what we wake up and say we're going to do. We want to create content, and so I'm a content creator.
Cool, man, yeah. I just say I'm in digital media, and that kind of stops the conversation.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that sounds boring.
Yeah, that's good enough. Thank you very much for your time, Seth. And we will continue trying to live the dream.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Neil.